I don't know if any of you saw this on the news several years ago, but there was a 45-year-old lady by the name of Kristen Talati who was reunited with her 22-year-old son, a guy named Steve Flagg, and she had been separated from him for his whole life. She gave birth to him in October of 1985, and she was a single mom. She just could not take care of him, and so she made the gut-wrenching decision of placing him in an adoption agency, and she left the record open in case he ever wanted to get in touch with her one day. And so 22 years go by. Steve is actually living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, working at a Lowe's store, and he decides he wants to get in touch with his birth mom. And he had a couple of attempts at trying to do that. He was unsuccessful. And finally, he goes to the adoption agency one day. He puts in all the information, and her address pops up less than a mile from the Lowe's store that he works at. So he goes to work that day. He's telling his boss about it, and he says, yeah, my mom's name's Christine Talati. And he goes, do you think that could be Chris Talati, our head cashier? And for the last several months, he had been working side by side with his birth mom at Lowe's and didn't ever know it. So he's kind of like, okay, how do I tell her this? How do you do that? So do I slip a little note in her lunchbox in the break room? It's like, surprise, I'm your kid, right? I mean, do you do that? I mean, when she calls for a price check on a gallon of paint, do you run up and be like, I'll get that for you, Mom? I mean, it's like, how do you do that? So there was a volunteer at the adoption agency that said, hey, I'll set up a proper introduction, and the two of them meet, and this is actually a picture of them in their Lowe's uniforms, and it was an amazing story. And Kristen would say, it was a complete shock. I always thought that maybe he might seek me out one day, but I didn't know when and where. I certainly didn't think that it would be like this. This is the perfect gift.